my name is Veeram Shah. I am the principal architect at Design Ni Dukaan and co-founder of Dotto, Objects of Curiosity, and Pod, which are two parent brands in collaboration with different designers. Um, I grew up in a very small Parsi town called Navsari near Surat in South Gujarat. And eventually, I moved to Pune for my further education, where I studied in Ferguson for my 11th, 12th, and then I did my architecture from Pune University. The time that I've had in Ahmedabad, I have made a circle of friends that range from artists to musicians to sculptors, etc. I've always believed in collaborations. So what happens is the Rutwa is, I think, someone that you guys also associated with. So then, for a certain project, I'll give an example. Like the clients were basically from Mathura Brindavan. They believed in Krishna, etc. So then I told, okay, let's do an installation of nine, I think 15 objects in stone, which would represent a contemporary version of the ghats. So this is how I give the brief, and then me and Rutwa sit together and we develop the brief further. So these are mostly commissioned work sometimes when I can involve the artist directly where I give a brief. So basically, my client, I'm doing an architectural project, and my client was not very religious, but they said, "Okay, ek Srinath Ji ni murti has to be there." Now, I am in a way a very staunch atheist, and I do have a lot of faith, but I do not believe in the outline of an idol. So every project comes with different clients who have different backgrounds. Now, for me, they for the initial years of after the initial years of struggle have come to a point where they come to me for my art. So if you see any of my projects, I make sure that there is some space left for art, because beyond beautifying walls, I'm trying to build a very close community where I can support every and all kinds of artists through my work. Because when you consider a pyramid, an architect is always at the top. And there are so many people who can add art to my work in terms of sculptures or paintings, etc. So I create spaces which are very minimal. So if you don't fill them up with something, the client itself is going to ask me as to what is going to come here. So very slyly and smartly, I've come to a point where I tell the client that you have to start collecting it. And I'm not saying that you do it right now, but you have a conversation. And for everything that I do, there are these conversations that I have with the client where you work on a project for say a year or two, and you start to know the client, their influences, and they start to know me. As an atheist, when every Indian household has to have a place for God. So for me, how do I deconstruct my ideas and put it to them in a way that they get a beautiful pedestal for God, and I still also fulfill my views about art. So these are conversations, and eventually, I think these dialogues, it's very seamless as to when you create, when your work as an architect is so minimal, and when you can create so many blank walls, there is room to include photographers and artists of different mediums and sculptors. So I don't think there is much convincing needed, because it is a part of the process. It's part of how we are going to add these things to create that drama in the space, which is itself so minimal. I'm not looking at getting a Italian sofa and some a 10 leg chandelier, and basically, no, I don't consider synthetic treatments to enhance my work. I think that art, in a way, when dignified and sort of bought from artists who you have a dialogue with, who can support, enhances the space so much more than these superficial treatments.